My son didn't take me on family vacation, though I paid for everything. Then he came home. I am Hunter, 68 years old. All my life I worked hard to give my family everything they needed. Now I sit alone in my empty house staring at photos of them enjoying the Hawaiian beach vacation I paid for. The familiar sting of rejection burns in my chest. My son took his family to paradise with my money, but left me behind. I feel invisible, forgotten by the very people I sacrificed everything for. If you have ever felt forgotten by those you love most, let me know where you are watching from and stay with me through this heartbreaking story. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have ever sacrificed for family, only to feel left behind. Growing up during tough economic times taught me the value of hard work. My father lost his job when I was 14, and I watched him struggle to provide for our family. Those early years shaped my views on what it means to be a good father and provider. I promised myself my children would never know that kind of uncertainty. I worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs throughout most of my adult life. The aluminum manufacturing plant, where I spent 35 years, demanded physical labor that left me exhausted, but the overtime pay meant my family could have what they needed. Weekends at the gas station and occasional night security work rounded out our income. My wife Martha often said I worked too hard, but I knew what I was doing was necessary. My son Derek was born when I was 26, and from that moment, everything I did was for him. Martha stayed home with him during his early years, a luxury my extra shifts made possible. I missed many of his baseball games and school events, something that still haunts me. When Derek was accepted to college, I took on even more hours to ensure he graduated debt-free. Derek is now 42, married to Natalie for 13 years. They have given me 2 wonderful grandchildren, Jack, who is 12, and Emma, who is 8. They live about 20 minutes from my house in a good neighborhood with excellent schools. Derek works as a financial advisor at a respected firm in the city, while Natalie teaches 3rd grade at a private school. 5 years ago, Martha lost her battle with breast cancer. The loss devastated our family, but it hit me the hardest. We had been planning our retirement, talking about all the traveling we would do together once I stopped working. Hawaii was at the top of her wish list. We never made it there together, something I will regret for the rest of my life. After Martha passed, I retired from the plant. The house felt too big, too empty without her. I decided to sell our family home and move closer to Derek and his family. I found a modest 3-bedroom ranch-style house just 5 miles from them. I thought being closer would help me become a bigger part of their lives. Despite my proximity, our relationship remained strained. Derek was always polite but distant. When I called to invite them for Sunday dinner, he usually had an excuse about work or the kids having activities. I understood busy schedules, but the pattern became impossible to ignore. In a good month, I might see them once for a brief visit. "Dad, we have so much going on right now," became his standard explanation. "Maybe next weekend will be better." Next weekend rarely was better. Natalie was cordial whenever we interacted, but I always sensed she preferred keeping me at a comfortable distance. She would call occasionally asking if I could watch the kids when their regular babysitter canceled. I always said yes, cherishing these moments with my grandchildren, even if they came from necessity rather than desire for my company. Jack and Emma were the bright spots in my life. Jack had Martha's quick wit and love for reading. Emma inherited my mechanical aptitude, always curious about how things worked. During our infrequent visits, I tried teaching them card games. Martha and I enjoyed sharing stories about their father when he was young. I expressed my love the only way I knew how, through providing and giving. When Jack mentioned wanting to try baseball, I bought him the best equipment and offered to practice with him. When Emma showed interest in science, I purchased a microscope and experiment kits. I put money in education accounts for both children every month. For birthdays and Christmas, I was generous with gifts and money. I helped with the down payment when Derek and Natalie upgraded to a larger home 3 years ago. When their family car died unexpectedly last year, I covered the cost of a new SUV. Money was never an issue for me. I had saved diligently throughout my working years and received a good pension. What good was money if not to help my family? My days fell into a predictable routine. Mornings began with coffee and the newspaper. Afternoons involved yard work or small home improvement projects. Evenings stretched long and quiet. I joined a senior bowling league on Tuesdays, made friends with a few neighbors who watched football games with me on Sundays. But the emptiness remained. I tried volunteering at the local community center, teaching basic woodworking to kids. I started attending the Presbyterian church. Martha and I had visited occasionally. These activities filled time, but not the void left by family. The void that grew each time Derek canceled plans or cut visits short. Photos of Martha, Derek, and the grandkids covered my walls. I looked at them often, wondering what I had done wrong, why establishing a close relationship with my son seemed impossible. Had my absence during his childhood created this distance? Was I trying too hard now, coming across as needy or intrusive? These questions kept me awake many nights. My neighbor Bill, a widower like me, often said I needed to speak up, tell Derek how I felt. But confrontation was never my style. Martha had been the communicator in our family. Without her, I struggled finding the right words to bridge the growing gap between Derek and me. Instead, I kept giving, hoping my actions would speak for me. The idea for the Hawaiian vacation came during a rare family dinner at my house 3 months ago. Derek mentioned casually that Jack had been learning about volcanoes in science class and was fascinated by them. "He keeps talking about the Hawaiian volcanoes," Derek said, while helping himself to more mashed potatoes. "Says he wants to see them someday." "Hawaii is amazing," Natalie added. "My college roommate went last year with her family. The pictures were breathtaking. Something clicked in my mind. Hawaii. The trip Martha and I had always postponed. The destination at the top of her travel wish list. Here was an opportunity to honor her memory while creating a special experience with my family. "You know," I said carefully, not wanting to seem too eager, "your mother always wanted to go to Hawaii. We talked about it for years, but never made it happen." Derek nodded absently, his attention already shifting to helping Emma cut her chicken. The moment passed, but an idea had taken root in my mind. 2 days later, I visited Sunshine Travel Agency in the shopping center near my house. Linda, a friendly woman about my age, helped me explore options for a family vacation to Hawaii. "How many people will be traveling?" she asked, fingers poised above her keyboard. "5, I replied without hesitation. "Me, my son, his wife, and their 2 children. Together we looked at resorts on different islands, discussing which would best accommodate a family with children. I settled on a package that included a beachfront condo on Maui with 2 bedrooms plus a sofa bed in the living room. The condo came with a full kitchen pool access and was within walking distance of the beach. The package also included a rental car and several excursions, including a volcano tour for Jack. The price was considerable, $15,000 for a 10-day stay, but I had the money. Martha and I had saved our entire lives for retirement adventures we never got to take together. What better use for those funds than creating memories with our family? I put down the deposit that day, booking the trip for June when the children would be out of school. Linda assured me it was perfect timing, not quite peak season, but still offering excellent weather and fewer crowds. That evening I called Derek with what I thought would be exciting news. "I have a surprise for all of you," I said, barely containing my enthusiasm. I just booked a family vacation to Hawaii this summer. 10 days in Maui, all expenses paid. The condo has ocean views, and there is a special volcano tour I know Jack will love." The silence on the other end lasted several seconds too long. "Wow, Dad, that is really generous." Derek finally replied, his tone measured. "That is a big trip, though. We should probably talk about this in person. Natalie and I need to check our schedules." His lack of excitement deflated me, but I pushed aside my disappointment. "Of course, son. Why not come over this weekend and we can go over all the details?" The travel agent gave me brochures with information about activities for the kids. "Sure, Dad. Saturday might work. I will check with Natalie and let you know." Saturday came and went with a text from Derek saying they needed to reschedule. Another week passed with no mention of the trip. I finally called again, trying to sound casual. "Just checking if you had a chance to look at your summer schedule for the Hawaii trip. The agent needs to finalize some bookings soon." "Right, Hawaii," Derek said, sounding distracted. "We are still figuring things out with work schedules, but it should be fine for those dates. Listen, Dad, I need to jump on a conference call. Can we talk about this later?" Despite the lukewarm response, I moved forward with the plans. I paid the remaining balance, received the confirmation emails, and began my own preparations. I bought new swim trunks, sandals, and casual shirts. I ordered guidebooks about Hawaiian culture and history, learning about local customs and a few basic phrases in Hawaiian. In my mind, I crafted countless scenarios of how the vacation would unfold. Morning walks on the beach with Jack and Emma building sandcastles and collecting shells. Teaching them to swim in the ocean as I had taught Derek decades ago. Evening dinners on the lanai, watching the sunset, while sharing stories and laughter. Perhaps quiet conversations with Derek after the children went to bed, rebuilding the connection we had lost. I imagined this trip healing old wounds, creating new memories to replace the ones I missed during Derek's childhood. I pictured Natalie seeing me in a new light, not just as an occasional babysitter, but as a valued family member. Most of all, I saw this vacation as a way to honor Martha, fulfilling our shared dream while bringing our family closer together. As the departure date approached, I noticed worrying signs. Whenever I brought up specific activities or asked about preferences for excursions, Derek and Natalie changed the subject. They never asked questions about the accommodations or schedule. When I offered to take everyone shopping for vacation essentials, Natalie said they had everything they needed. "We do not want you going to any more expense," she explained. "You have done more than enough already." I brushed aside these concerns. Perhaps they wanted to surprise me with their own plans for the trip. Maybe they were just busy preparing in their own way. The important thing was that we would be together, making memories Martha would have treasured. 1 month before the departure date, I called Derek to confirm everyone had their swimming gear ready. He sounded uncomfortable, promising to come by that weekend to discuss final details. I spent the week cleaning my house and preparing questions about their preferences for activities. When the weekend came, Derek texted that something came up with Emma's dance recital practice. Another delay, another disappointment I tried not to dwell on. The truth began unraveling exactly 7 days before the scheduled departure. I was working in my front yard planting new flowers so the house would look nice during my absence when my neighbor Margaret walked over with her golden retriever, Cooper. "Hunter, just the person I wanted to see," she called cheerfully. "Derek stopped by yesterday while you were at your doctor appointment. He asked if I could check on your house and bring in your mail while you are all in Hawaii. I said of course, but I wanted to ask about Cooper. Do you still want to take care of him while we visit my sister? Or should I ask someone else since you will be gone too?" My hands froze in the dirt. "What do you mean Derek asked you to watch my house while I am gone?" Margaret's smile faltered. "Yes, he said the whole family is going to Hawaii next week. Did I misunderstand something?" I forced a casual tone. No, there must be some confusion. Let me sort it out with Derek. And of course I will still watch Cooper. My trip plans have changed. What trip plans? Apparently I had none. After Margaret left, I sat on my front step, mind racing. Why would Derek ask her to watch my house? The travel package included 5 people. I was supposed to be the 5th person. There had to be an explanation. I called Derek immediately. The call went to voicemail. I texted him asking to call me back urgently. Hours passed with no response. I called again that evening. Still nothing. Finally, around 9:30 that night, a text message appeared. Sorry for the delay. Dad, been swamped with work. Everything okay? I typed and deleted several angry responses before settling on, we need to talk about Hawaii. Please come by tomorrow. It is important. His reply came quickly this time. Natalie and I will stop by around noon tomorrow. I barely slept that night. My mind created numerous explanations, each more painful than the last. Had they misunderstood my intention to join them? Were they planning to tell me at the last minute that I was not included? Or worse, had they known all along and deliberately avoided the conversation? The next day crawled by until noon arrived. When the doorbell finally rang, I had been sitting in my recliner for an hour rehearsing what to say. I opened the door to find Derek and Natalie standing awkwardly on my porch. Come in, I said, stepping aside. No hugs, no warm greetings. The tension was palpable as they followed me to the living room. Can I get you anything, coffee, water? I offered mechanically. We are fine, Dad, Derek said, sitting on the edge of the sofa. Natalie sat beside him, her purse clutched tightly on her lap like a shield. I took my seat in the recliner facing them. Margaret mentioned something yesterday that confused me. She said you asked her to watch my house while we are all in Hawaii. Derek and Natalie exchanged a glance. Derek cleared his throat. Yeah, about the trip, Dad. We have been meaning to talk to you about that. I am listening, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. Well, he continued, not quite meeting my eyes. We decided this would be a good opportunity for just the 4 of us to have some quality time together. You know, just our immediate family unit. The words hit like a physical blow. Immediate family unit. A unit that apparently did not include me. I see, I managed to say. And when were you planning to tell me this? Derek shifted uncomfortably. We were going to discuss it this weekend. Things have been busy, and honestly, we thought you might have realized it was just going to be us. How would I realize that when I booked and paid for 5 people? I asked. There was a misunderstanding with the travel agent, Derek said quickly. We told them it would be just the 4 of us. Natalie spoke up for the first time. We really appreciate you covering the cost, Hunter. It is incredibly generous. We just think it is important for us to have this time together. As you know, just us and the kids. Just us, Derek repeated. You know, just the 4 of us. A nice compact family vacation. A nice compact family vacation. Not including Grandpa. Not including me. The message could not have been clearer if they had written it on a billboard. I looked at my son, this man I had worked my entire life to provide for, who now could not even look me in the eye as he excluded me from the family vacation I was funding. I understand, I said quietly, though I did not understand at all. The trip is my gift to you. Enjoy it. Relief washed over their faces, as if they had expected an argument, tears, or demands. They did not know that my heart was breaking too completely for me to fight back in that moment. After a few more minutes of awkward conversation about their packing and preparations, they left with promises to bring back souvenirs and take lots of pictures. I stood at the window watching their car pull away, wondering if they would discuss on the drive home how well their uncomfortable conversation had gone, how easily I had accepted my exclusion. Alone in my empty house, the full weight of what had happened began to sink in. I walked to my bedroom and opened the closet door. There hung the new shirts I had purchased for the trip, tags still attached. Sandals and swim trunks sat in a shopping bag on the floor. A Hawaiian phrase book lay on my nightstand, bookmarked at common greetings I had been practicing. I moved to my home office and found the folder containing all the travel documents. 5 airline tickets, 5 spots on each excursion, a condo reserved for 5 people. There had been no misunderstanding with the travel agent. The photo albums in the living room called to me next. I flipped through pages chronicling Derek's life, his first steps, his high school graduation, his wedding day. All milestones I had been present for had helped make possible through years of hard work and sacrifice. Those sacrifices suddenly played through my mind in vivid detail. The 12-hour shifts that left my back aching and hands calloused. The Christmas mornings when I had to leave halfway through opening presents for a shift at the gas station. The second mortgage we took out to pay for Derek's college education. The nights I drove for a car service after my regular job to earn extra money for Brace's sports equipment summer camps. I remembered how Martha would sometimes cry, worried about my health, as I pushed myself through exhaustion year after year. "The boy needs his father present more than he needs all these things," she would say. I always replied that I was securing his future, ensuring he would have opportunities I never had. Now I wondered if Martha had been right all along. Had I built a relationship based on financial support rather than emotional connection? Had I taught my son that my value was in my wallet rather than my presence? I pulled out my phone and opened the email confirmation from the travel agency. I scrolled to the section listing all travelers: Hunter Williams, Derek Williams, Natalie Williams, Jack Williams, Emma Williams. 5 names, clear as day. A bitter laugh escaped me. They had not even bothered to create a convincing lie. Derek could have claimed the 5th ticket was for a friend or Natalie's sister or anyone who might reasonably join a family vacation. Instead, he had invented a non-existent misunderstanding, assuming I would not check or question him. What hurt even more was realizing this was not a sudden decision. They had known for months they did not intend to include me. Every time they changed the subject when I brought up the trip, every time they postponed discussions about details, they had been avoiding the truth. Meanwhile, I had been planning, preparing, dreaming about this time together. I poured myself a rare glass of whiskey and sat in the growing darkness of my living room. Martha would have known what to do in this situation. She would have confronted Derek, directly demanded honesty, perhaps even made him see how hurtful his actions were. Without her diplomatic skills, I felt lost. Questions tormented me as night fell. What had I done to deserve such treatment? Was I truly such unwelcome company that my own son would exclude me from a vacation I was paying for? Had I somehow failed as a father, despite all my efforts and sacrifices? I picked up my phone several times, tempted to call Derek back to demand answers or withdraw my financial support for the trip. But pride stopped me. I would not beg for inclusion in my own family. Sleep eluded me that night. I tossed and turned, replaying conversations from recent years, looking for signs I had missed. The pattern became clearer in retrospect. Derek called when he needed something: financial assistance or childcare. Our relationship had become transactional rather than emotional. Even more painful was the realization that I had enabled this pattern. I had been so eager to help, to be needed in some capacity, that I had not noticed or acknowledged how one-sided our relationship had become. The next morning, I called my younger sister, Susan. We were not particularly close, but she was the only family I had left besides Derek. She lived 3 states away with her husband, and we typically only spoke on holidays and birthdays. "Hunter, what a nice surprise," she answered warmly. "Everything okay?" "Not really," I admitted, my voice breaking slightly. I told her about the vacation situation, the revelation that Derek had deliberately excluded me while accepting my money. There was a long pause before Susan spoke. "Oh, Hunter, I am sorry, but I am not entirely surprised." "What do you mean?" Susan sighed. "Derek has mentioned things over the years. Complaints about you being too involved or asking too many questions. He told me once that Natalie finds your visits stressful, that she feels you scrutinize her parenting." This was news to me. I have never criticized how they raise the kids. "It might not be what you say, but how they perceive your presence," Susan suggested gently. "Derek mentioned Natalie comes from a family where the grandparents are kept at arm's length. They visit on major holidays but otherwise maintain separate lives." "That is not the kind of grandfather I want to be," I protested. "I know," Susan said, "and truthfully, I think Derek takes advantage of your generosity while complaining about your involvement. It is not fair, but I have heard him describe you as a burden even while accepting your financial help." A burden. The word cut deep. After everything I had given, everything I had sacrificed, my son saw me as a burden. "Has he always felt this way?" I asked, dreading the answer. "I think it started after Martha died," Susan replied thoughtfully. "Before that, she was the buffer between you two. She knew how to translate for both of you, how to smooth over rough patches. Without her, the communication broke down." We talked for nearly an hour, Susan sharing observations I had been too close to see. According to her, Derek had grown accustomed to my financial support, while resenting what he perceived as attempts to buy his affection. Meanwhile, Natalie had always been uncomfortable with my desire for closer family ties, preferring more boundaries between generations. After hanging up, I checked social media, something I rarely did. Derek and Natalie had both posted about their upcoming family adventure to Hawaii. The comments section was filled with friends wishing them a wonderful trip. Not a single mention of me or my contribution. Then came the final blow. While scrolling through Natalie's photos from the previous month, I saw pictures from her parents' anniversary dinner. In one image, her father Robert was raising a toast. The caption read, "Dad is so excited to join us in Hawaii. First big trip with the grandkids." The room seemed to spin around me. Not only had they excluded me from the vacation I paid for, but they had invited Natalie's father to take my place. The 5th ticket, the 5th spot on excursions, the space in the condo I had thought was mine was actually reserved for Robert. I checked the travel dates against my calendar, confirming what I already suspected. They had told me Robert was too busy with work to attend Jack's school play the week before their departure. Another lie in a growing collection. That evening, I received a text from Derek. "Getting really excited about the trip. The kids cannot wait. Thanks again for making this possible, Dad." The casual audacity of his message thanking me for making possible a vacation I had been excluded from, while continuing to hide that Robert would be joining them, was the breaking point. Tears I had been holding back for days finally came hot and bitter. I sat alone in my darkened living room and wept for the family I thought I had, for the relationship with my son I had foolishly believed I could rebuild. But as the tears dried, something else began to stir within me. A slow, burning anger not just at Derek and Natalie, but at myself for allowing this situation to develop, for becoming an ATM rather than a respected family member, for being so desperate for connection that I had accepted scraps of attention in exchange for financial support. That night, a new resolve formed in my mind. Things would need to change, and I would have to be the one to change them. The 5 days between that realization and the family's departure for Hawaii brought clarity I had not experienced since Martha's death. The initial shock and hurt began to transform into something unexpected: determination. My first step was practical. I contacted my bank and made an appointment with my financial advisor. For years, I had maintained joint accounts with Derek, had listed him as beneficiary on everything, had structured my affairs to make things as easy as possible for him after my death. That would change. I also called the travel agency, confirming my suspicions. The booking had always been for Derek, Natalie, the 2 children, and Robert. Never for me. The agent, Linda, sounded uncomfortable when I asked for clarification. "I assumed you knew Mr. Williams," she said apologetically. "When your son called to confirm the details, he specifically mentioned his father-in-law would be the 5th traveler. I thought perhaps you were organizing this as a gift for both families." "Thank you for clarifying," I replied, keeping my voice neutral despite the fresh pain her confirmation caused. Next, I gathered evidence of the financial support I had provided over the years: the down payment for their house, the car I had purchased, the monthly deposits into the children's education accounts, the credit card I paid for that Derek used for family emergencies, but seemed to include golf outings and expensive dinners. I was not planning revenge or to demand repayment. I simply needed to understand the full scope of the situation. The pattern was even clearer when I saw everything listed in one document. I had been subsidizing their comfortable lifestyle for years while being kept on the periphery of their lives. Perhaps most concerning was the discovery that Derek had been withdrawing money from the education accounts I had established for Jack and Emma. The accounts were joint, intended to give Derek access in case of emergency, but the withdrawals coincided with luxury purchases and vacations. Money meant for my grandchildren's future was funding the lifestyle their parents wanted, but could not quite afford on their own. The next day, I joined a senior support group at the community center. I had noticed flyers for their meetings, but had always made excuses not to attend. Now I walked in and took a seat in the circle of chairs, unsure what to expect. The facilitator, a retired psychologist named Diane, welcomed me warmly. As the meeting progressed, others shared stories of family estrangement, ungrateful children, and the unique challenges of aging. I remained quiet until the end, when Diane gently encouraged me to introduce myself. "My name is Hunter," I began hesitantly. "My wife passed 5 years ago. I have one son who—" My voice caught unexpectedly. "Who I thought I knew." Something about the understanding nods from the circle broke down my reserve, and I found myself sharing the whole story. The vacation, the exclusion, the years of one-sided giving. When I finished, there was a moment of silence before the questions and advice began. One man, Frank, approached me after the meeting. About my age, with kind eyes and a firm handshake, he shared a similar experience with his daughter. "I was my daughter's personal bank for 15 years, he explained as we walked to the parking lot. Paid for everything from her wedding to her mortgage when times got tough. Then one Christmas, I overheard her telling her husband what a burden my visits were, how they only invited me because they might need money for a kitchen renovation. 'What did you do?' I asked. 'Changed everything,' Frank said simply. 'Changed my will, my accounts, my behavior. Most importantly, I changed how I valued myself. Took a while, but eventually our relationship found a new balance. One based on mutual respect, not financial dependence.' We exchanged phone numbers, and over the next few days, Frank became an unexpected ally and sounding board. With his encouragement, I began making more substantive changes. I closed the joint accounts with Derek and opened new ones solely in my name. I established proper trusts for Jack and Emma, that Derek could not access, ensuring my grandchildren would have funds for education, regardless of their parents' decisions. I consulted an attorney about updating my will. Previously, everything would have gone directly to Derek upon my death. Now the house and a reasonable portion of my savings would still go to him, but with conditions attached. The bulk of my estate would be held in trust for my grandchildren, with a small portion designated for charities Martha had supported. The process was empowering. For the first time since becoming a widower, I felt in control of my life, rather than merely existing in the empty spaces left by others. I began making other changes, too. I joined a hiking group for seniors, something Martha had always encouraged. I volunteered at the local animal shelter, finding unexpected joy in the simple companionship of the dogs and cats. Most significantly, I booked my own trip to Hawaii, scheduled for the month after Derek's family would return. A solo journey to fulfill the promise I had made to Martha. I would stay at the same resort, take similar excursions, and finally scatter some of her ashes in the place she had always dreamed of visiting. 3 days after Derek and his family departed for Hawaii, social media updates began appearing. Pictures of smiling faces on the beach, videos of the children building sandcastles, group photos with Robert prominently included. Each post mentioned what a special family trip it was, how wonderful it was spending quality time together as a family. Each photo could have included me. Each moment could have been a memory we shared. Instead, I was the invisible sponsor, the financial backer who made it all possible but was not deemed worthy of participation. Yet surprisingly, the pictures did not hurt as much as I expected. Perhaps because I was already focused on my own future rather than the rejection. Or perhaps because each smiling image reinforced the rightness of the changes I was making. The stark visual evidence of my exclusion made it impossible to continue denying the true nature of my relationship with Derek. The day before their scheduled return, Derek texted, "Having an amazing time. Thank you again for this incredible gift. We will stop by when we get back to show you pictures and bring your souvenir." I replied simply, "I will be home. See you then." The next evening, I sat in my living room, waiting the house neat and orderly, my thoughts similarly arranged after days of reflection. The doorbell rang precisely at 6:30. I took a deep breath and went to answer it. Derek stood on the porch alone, a colorful gift bag in one hand. His tan emphasized the family resemblance between us, the same Williams jawline and eyes. He looked relaxed and rested, the very picture of someone returning from a perfect vacation. "Dad, good to see you," he said with a smile that did not quite reach his eyes. "Can I come in?" "Of course," I replied, stepping aside. "Where is everyone else?" "At home unpacking. Thought I would stop by quickly on my way to pick up groceries. Brought you something." He held out the gift bag. I accepted it with a nod, but set it aside without opening it. "Have a seat, son. We need to talk." Something in my tone must have alerted him that this was not our usual interaction. The smile faded as he sat on the sofa, the same spot where he had informed me I would not be included in the vacation. "Is everything okay, Dad?" he asked cautiously. "No, Derek, everything is not okay," I said, my voice calm and measured. "But it will be." I sat in my recliner facing him directly. "I know Robert went to Hawaii with you. I know the 5th ticket was always intended for him, never for me." Derek's expression shifted from surprise to defensiveness. "Dad, we did not think you would want to spend 10 days with us in close quarters. You have your routine here, your bowling league, your shows." "Is that what you tell yourself?" I asked. "That excluding me from a family vacation I paid for was for my benefit?" "It was not like that," he protested. "We just thought You thought I would continue financing your life without questioning my place in it. I finished for him. You have grown accustomed to my financial support while keeping me at a distance emotionally. Derek's face flushed. That is not fair. We include you in plenty of things. When was the last time you invited me to dinner without me asking first? When was the last time you called just to check on me, not because you needed something? His silence was answer enough. I have made some changes this past week, I continued. Changes that are long overdue. I explained the new financial arrangements calmly without anger. The closed joint accounts, the trusts for the grandchildren, the revised will, the recovered funds from the education accounts he had been dipping into. Derek's expression cycled through shock, anger, and finally a calculating assessment of what this meant for him. So you are punishing me because we wanted a vacation with just our immediate family? He asked, a defensive edge in his voice. This is not punishment, Derek. This is me establishing healthy boundaries for the first time in our adult relationship. I will always be your father, and I will always love you. But I will no longer be your personal ATM while being treated as an afterthought. We never saw you as an ATM, he protested weakly. I raised an eyebrow. Really? Then why accept $15,000 from me for a vacation you had no intention of including me on? Why withdraw money from your children's education accounts to upgrade your airline seats to first class? His head snapped up. How did you know about that? I checked the accounts, the same accounts I established and have been funding for years. Derek stood up, pacing the room. You are overreacting. It was just a vacation. We were going to pay you back for the extra seat. This is not about money, son. It is about respect. It is about honesty. It is about recognizing that I am more than a financial resource. I am a person with feelings, someone who has devoted his entire life to providing for you. Derek ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so reminiscent of his teenage years that for a moment I saw the boy I had raised, not the distant adult he had become. So what now? You are cutting us off. No, I said firmly. I am establishing a new relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than financial dependence. I will continue supporting Jack and Emma's education through the trusts. I will still be there for genuine family emergencies. But the open checkbook policy is over. He sat back down, looking slightly deflated. Dad, I do not know what to say. We never meant to hurt you. I think you did not consider my feelings at all, I replied honestly. That is the problem. I became invisible to you except when you needed something. We sat in silence for a moment before I continued. I booked my own trip to Hawaii next month, I told him, to fulfill the promise I made to your mother. Part of her ashes will finally make it to the place she always wanted to see. Something shifted in Derek's expression. A flash of shame, perhaps. Or maybe just the realization that his father was taking control of his own life in a way he had not anticipated. I would like to rebuild our relationship, Derek. A real relationship, not one based on what I can provide financially. That starts with honesty and respect on both sides. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. I want you to see me, I answered simply. Not as a wallet, or an obligation, or a burden, but as your father who loves you and wants to be part of your life in a meaningful way. Derek nodded slowly, staring at his hands. When he looked up, I saw something I had not seen in a long time, genuine emotion, beyond the polite facade he usually presented to me. I have taken you for granted, he admitted finally. And you are right, we should not have excluded you from the trip, especially after you paid for everything. It was a small acknowledgement, perhaps more focused on the financial aspect than the emotional one, but it was a start. I would like to have dinner with you and the family next Sunday, I said. Not here, but at your house. I want to see Jack and Emma hear about their adventures in Hawaii. Of course, Derek agreed quickly, perhaps relieved I was offering an easy next step. And I would like to start taking Jack and Emma for individual outings occasionally. Time with just Grandpa, building our own relationship. He hesitated slightly before nodding. They would like that. As our conversation wound down, I walked him to the door. Before opening it, I turned to face my son one more time. I will always love you, Derek. Nothing will ever change that. But love without respect is not healthy for either of us. I deserve better than I have received, and going forward I intend to ensure I am treated with the dignity I have earned. He nodded, looking slightly uncomfortable but also thoughtful. I understand, Dad. We will do better. After he left, I returned to my living room and finally opened the gift bag. Inside was a small tiki statue and a refrigerator magnet with "Aloha from Hawaii" written across a sunset beach scene. Small tokens from a trip that could have meant so much more. I placed the items on my coffee table and picked up my own Hawaii itinerary. In just 4 weeks, I would be fulfilling Martha's dream, walking on the beaches she had longed to see. I would go alone, but I would not be lonely. I would be carrying decades of love and memories with me, honoring the woman who had been my partner through the best years of my life. And perhaps, just perhaps, I would be laying the groundwork for better years to come with the family I still had. Not on their terms or on their schedule, but as an equal participant in a relationship built on genuine respect and affection. I thought of what Frank had told me during our last conversation. Sometimes standing your ground is the most loving thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for those who need to learn how to truly value the people in their lives. As I prepared for bed that night, I felt lighter than I had in years. The road ahead might not be easy, but at least it would be honest. At 68, I had finally learned that self-respect was not selfish, and that proper boundaries were essential to healthy relationships. Sometimes the hardest lessons come when we least expect them, and from the people we thought would never need to teach them to us. But in learning those lessons, we sometimes find strength we never knew we possessed. Have you ever had to set boundaries with loved ones who took your generosity for granted, or found yourself excluded by the very people you sacrificed everything for? Share your story in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe for more real-life stories of healing and dignity, and share with someone who might need to hear that it is never too late to stand up for yourself. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, true family respects and values each member, not just what they can provide.